Say the churches experience a moral fall. It takes place here, the first disappointment. And then the second angel's message is empowered here at the midnight cry. What was the message? What produced the midnight cry? Probably let's see how I should rephrase that question. Who can give me a quick answer? What produced the midnight cry? What message constituted the midnight cry?
The bridegroom coming.
The bridegroom cometh. Where is he coming? When?
October 22nd.
Okay. Now you gave me...
At the end of the 2030 days.
Yes. You gave me a very broad answer to the question. The message, what is someone slow preaching here?
Time.
The tarrying time. Someone Snow, he is pinpointing this day. Okay? Because they are just waiting that the bridegroom can come anytime. Okay? But when he comes here, this message, the reason why it produced this cry is because now they're pinpointing this day. It's definite time, yes. Okay? And because people see, now they know the very day when Christ is coming. Okay? So between this time period, they said this was when literally he was going out to meet him, because now they know that he's definitely coming here. Okay? Now we know that this history, after 1844, the third waymark, the third angel's message arrives here, 1844, October 22nd, and you have right after that, you already see a number 7 after the third waymark, dealing with the judgment. Okay, at the opening of the judgment, you have the 7th-day Sabbath. Okay, God brings this understanding of the 7th-day Sabbath. The Sabbath comes in and is restored. And this history was prefiguring this history which deals with the closing of the judgment. At the close of the judgment, we have 9/11. And 9/11, the message that comes at 9/11 is empowering what message? Daniel 11:40-45, the first angel's message. That comes before 1989. Okay, and this is the angel of Revelation 18. He's empowering the message of Daniel 11:40-45. Okay, so it's paralleling this angel of Revelation chapter 10. And we know that the second waymark, when are we going to preach Babylon is fallen? What is the message of the second angel? Babylon is fallen. And when, in our history, when is that message going to go out?
9/11.
It's going to come here Sunday, Lord. This is when we are preaching that Babylon is fallen. Okay? This is when the message, this is the perfect fulfillment of this message here. Okay? And I'm going to read you a quote where Sister Wise says that this is going to be the perfect fulfillment of this message. And we know that at the opening of the judgment, when the second angel's message comes, you have a cry that comes. In this history is the loud cry before you reach to the third waymark, just as how you had it here. So please, between the second and the third, you have a cry. So we know that this midnight cry was prefiguring in our time the light cry that is going to come after Sunday law. And this is the close of probation for humankind. And you have the 7 here, which is the 7 last plague. You can identify many 7s here. I just chose this one. Okay? And this line, you can put many things between this line, dealing with the judgment, but I just want to keep it simple. Okay? To see that this history, in a very precise way, when the judgment was opening, is going to finish the same way it began. It's going to close in like manner. So you have the primary way marks that we have is 9/11, the Sunday law, and the close of probation. Okay? Now this figure is illustrating something different from what we are going to be looking at now, which is the two temporal cleansings. Okay? People look confused. By God's grace will catch up. I can see from your looks that. Did you follow through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can say your questions. So let's deal with a different figure now. The two temporal cleansings. We're still taking the Millerite history. The Millerite history was a history of the three angels' messages. Okay. So this is where we're going to mention fractals. So people that have been trying to wrap their minds around fractals, because this word is said a lot of times now in presentations like this, we have to put our thinking caps on. The history of the Millerites, we know that this was the history of the three angels' messages. So I'm going to redraw that. The history of the three angels' messages. This is the everlasting gospel. This is the same message that the Holy Spirit brings to us. Okay, so we find the three angels' messages in Revelation 14, 6 to 12. I'm saying this is the work of the Holy Spirit. And in John 16, what does the Holy Spirit do? Convict us of sin, of righteousness, and of judgment. Okay? The message of the first angel in Revelation 14, verse 7, his message is also threefold, because he says, fear God, give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come. Okay? The three angels' message, they present the everlasting gospel, is a threefold message as represented by these angels. There are three angels. But when we look at the first angel's message, we also notice that his message is threefold. Okay? If we see that, we can see that in the first angel's message is a representation in all the characteristics of this full everlasting gospel message. Okay? So we say that it is a fractal, a smaller portion with the same identical characteristics of the bigger portion. Okay? That's what a fractal is. A smaller portion of the bigger whole, which possesses the same identical characteristics. Okay? We can clearly see that just by looking at the first angel's message itself in comparison to the three angels' messages. What I want you to look into now is this. This history of the Millerites, this history, if I put here 1840 to 1844, okay, this is the history of the Millerites. This is where this everlasting gospel is being disseminated through these three angels' messages. But when we read in Spirit of Prophecy, we read that this history was a history of the first angel's message. Because the second angel's message was not fulfilled perfectly. The same is true with the third angel's message. It might be a good idea to read that for you at this juncture. So if we go to, well, you don't have to, in Great Controversy 389, in Great Controversy 389, this is paragraph 2. This is 1888 version. So this is GC 88, 389, paragraph 2. The second angel's message of Revelation 14 was first preached in the summer of 1844, and it then had a more direct application to the churches of the United States, where the warning of the judgment had been most widely proclaimed and most generally rejected, and where the declension in the churches had been most rapid. But the message of the second angel did not reach its complete fulfillment in 1844. The churches then experienced a moral fall in consequence of the refusal of the light of the Advent message. But that fall was not complete. As they have continued to reject the special truths for this time, they have fallen lower and lower. Not yet, however, can it be said that Babylon is fallen and she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. She has not yet made all nations do this. The spirit of world conforming and indifference to the testing truths for our time exists and has been gaining ground in churches of the Protestant faith in all the countries of Christendom. And these churches are included in the solemn and terrible denunciation of the second angel. But the work of apostasy has not yet reached its culmination. Okay, so in this passage, Sister White is clearly telling you that the second angel's message was not completely fulfilled. It was an impartial fulfillment. So the message that was fulfilled completely in this history was the first angel's message. Okay? So if the second angel's message was not fulfilled completely, we know that the third wasn't. And you know this because the third angel talked about a warning against the mark of the beast. And we did have a Sunday law here. Okay? So it was not fulfilled completely at this time. The reason why I want you to see that is that I'm going to do this now. We are going to, since this is the history of the first angel's message, we are going to look here. Okay? I want us to pay attention at this line. We know that it is a fractal of this whole. Now, what we are doing, we're starting to fill in the blanks. We are looking at this line. We are looking at this line. Okay? We are looking at this line. we know that the everlasting gospel is a threefold message. It's a testing message. There are going to be 2 temporal cleansings. What I want you to get is that the 2 temporal cleansings is a reference to 2 groups of people that are going to be cleansed. Okay? So there's 2 groups that are going to be cleansed. The 2 temporal cleansings illustrate the 2 groups of people that are going to be cleansed. In the time of the Millerites, you had the Protestant churches to start with, and then you had the Millerites. Okay? Now, if they're going to be tested, they must go through a 3-step process, because the everlasting gospel is a threefold message. Okay? So, in principle then, I have to mark that. I have to mark that because I'm not going to be tested with part of the everlasting gospel. It's a full message. And we know that the everlasting gospel is a 3-step testing message, as we see it here in the first angel's message. Okay, so by principle, I have to see that they must go through a 3-step testing process. This is August 11th, 1840. Okay, so this is 1840, this is August 11th. This is the 1843 chart. This is this chart. This here. In June of 1842. And this is April the 19th. This is April the 19th, 1844. Now, why do we put, who knows why I put the 1843 here with the second waymark? Okay, so I think some of you already know, or they can identify the second angel's message. They are taking this characteristic from the second angel's message, that is a visual test. Okay, so the second angel's message, it has this characteristic. Okay, it is a visual test. Okay, now, what I'm saying is, before you proceed, this second waymark here. You see where this second waymark is? This second waymark, this second angel's message, we are picking the characteristics of the first angel's message here. It is not the second angel's message. This second angel's message, okay, is different from this one here. Here we are simply picking out the characteristics of the second angel, and we are putting it here, because we know that the everlasting gospel is a 3-step process. So these two here and these two are different. Okay, because the second angel's message did not come till April the 19th, 1844. And here I'm marking 1842. Okay. Similarly, you will see that this third angels, this 3 and this 3, they are not the same. This is the third angel's message. Here I'm picking the characteristic of the third angel's message, which is what? Judgment. Okay? So when we are dealing with the fact that we have to come to grips with that. Because if I understand these two to be the same with these two, when I come here, I said, this is the second angels message. Someone said, hang on, you have the second angels message here. That is not what we are doing when we're dealing with fractals. We are picking out the characteristics of these angels. Okay? And we are identifying the three-step process of the everlasting gospel. This group of people have to be tested by the everlasting gospel. Not part of it, but all of it. And it's a threefold message. Alright? Here was a visual test, and we are taking that characteristic associated with the second angel's message, that you have to have a visual test. Okay? And I think when Moses wanted to see God, what did God do? Was there a time when Moses wanted to see God? And what did the Lord say? Okay? I'll make my glory pass before you. So you can see the scene there linked with the glory. And that is what you're identifying here. Alright? In this time period, the Protestants, they failed the test because they reject the charts. They failed the test because they reject the charts. If you read prophecy, it says that they start to close their doors against the message on the charts. Now when they do that, when they come to the third test, they fail. So, just like we had last week, you have this group is going to be divided into two groups. Okay? One group is accepting and they are moving on, and one group is going down. So we have, when you come to this point here, you have two groups. And this is where you can now say that the temple has been cleansed. Because you have taken the rubbish, you put it aside. You have taken out the weeds, and you can clearly see the wheat and the weeds when you come here. Okay, you have performed a work of separation. That is essentially what the cleansing is about. You are performing a work of separation that at the end of it, you end up with two groups. And here you have the Millerites and you have the Protestant churches. And they fall. And these people pass the test. Okay? So can we see that this history from 1840 to 1840 to April the 19th, 1844, there was a temporal cleansing here. Can you see that? There was certainly a temporal cleansing, because when you come here, you have two groups. So Christ was performing that work of separation. And how did he do it? It was through a three-step process. It was a threefold message. It's very important to recognize this point. The message is threefold. It's the everlasting gospel. When we come here, this history is the history of the 10 virgins, is it not? This is the history of the 10 virgins. Are the 10 virgins tested?
Yeah.
They are tested. When the test ends with these people, simultaneously, you have this group starting to be tested. Okay? Because there is still some further purification that needs to take place. Christ is going to come here And he's not going to be having a polluted church. He's going to have a clean church when he comes here in October 22nd, 1844. So he's going to apply the same everlasting gospel to this group of people that he applied here. And what was the visual test for the Millerites? Was the midnight cry, was it not?
Living testimony.
How was it this evening?
Midnight cry. This is what prepares people to be ready here. Okay, and from this time, there's a living testimony. You can see you are being tested even by the lives of the people that have embraced the message. But even in that living testimony, those people that are living, they still the foolish and the wise. Okay? They're still the foolish and the wise. You cannot tell who is wise and who isn't until you come here. This is August of 1844, and this is October 22nd, 1844. When you come to this third waymark, you can see clearly where, which side. You can clearly see the two groups being formed here, and you couldn't see it here. Okay. What I want you to see is that the first and the second temple cleansings that have taken place in this time period was cleansing two groups of people, the Protestants and the 10 virgins. Okay? You can see in each cleansing there's identical waymarks. Okay? Both of them experience the everlasting gospel, and by principle we have to identify the three step tests that they have to go through. But this history, remember that this is the history of the first angel. And I've just confused you. Have I confused you?
No.
This history, even though I have the two temple cleanses, we can see that. So far, so good. But we just read, remember that the second angel's message was not completely fulfilled.
Yeah.
Okay? So, this is still under the first angel. Now, that's one way to look at it. But this history, it is under the proclamation of the second angel. Because the second angel comes here. The history of 1842-1844, this is where the first angel's message was fulfilled perfectly. We are together on that point. And I have illustrated the first angel's message here. And we have seen that it possesses the same characteristics with this everlasting gospel coming in three angels. And we are looking at this first angel's message. And Christ is going to perform two cleansings. Because here he has two groups of people. He's going to cleanse the Protestants. He's going to apply this everlasting gospel to this group of people. And at the end, he's going to have one group. And he's going to purify again this group